Welcome everyone to Sociology 3350. This is immigration/migration. This is an upper division sociology class that counts pretty much for all the majors. So if you're sociology, criminology, or social work, this class definitely is going to count for your upper division class. First off, I just want to say welcome. I know that in a normal circumstance, we might be in one of those fancy lecture halls in the business school or in building 5. But unfortunately, we are still in a situation where virtual format is still the best way to go to reach the max number of students who I know are still working really hard to earn those degrees. So before I begin, I just wanted to say I commend everybody for enduring what has been, the most difficult year in my experience as being in this university, and I'm sure your experience being in this university. And so I just really am thankful that you are here to, partake in this class, learn about this topic, which is super important. And at the end of the day, I hope that you enjoy yourselves. Please know that given everything that's happening, I am very, very, very much of the philosophy that I want you to learn, but I also want you to stay alive, and I want you to make sure that I want to make sure that this class is flexible enough for you to be able to, get what you need to get done. I know that there are students out there who are still working, students who are going through all sorts of financial challenges due to this moment. I know that there's students out there that are caregiving for either their children or their families. I know you have a lot on your plate, and so I want to make this class, again, a class where you can learn, but also a class where it can be super flexible and you can do at your own pace. Remember, this is an asynchronous class, and I have all the necessary directions on Blackboard to make sure that everything's going to be smooth sailing. But what I want to do today, actually at this moment, is just walk you through the syllabus fairly quickly to show you what you need to do for this class. So let me just screen share. Let me just open that up. Here we go. All right, so Sociology 3350, Immigration Migration. I know you're in the right class. My name is Professor Anthony Ocampo. My pronouns are he, him, his. Feel free to address me as Professor Ocampo or Dr. Ocampo in our correspondences. In the normal world, my my office would be in Building 5 on the second floor. But unfortunately, that is, unavailable at the moment. I wish that we had the chance to sort of like have you drop it in person, but given everything that's happening, that's the best we can do is virtual correspondence. And my virtual office hours are between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So, you can just let me know if you want to meet via Zoom, or you can just correspond via email, whatever works for you. Obviously, the phone is not something that I have access to in this year, but feel free to email me at acocampo@cpp.edu. Again, this class is asynchronous, which means that you are doing this class on your own time. You can do everything like all at the front end of the semester. You can do nothing and then wait till the end of the semester, or you can do this class gradually along the way. The way the class is set up is that there are modules, and you can do one a week, and then you'll be absolutely fine. So course description. I don't want to read this because all of you can obviously read, but in a nutshell, we know, and if you're from LA, you know that immigration is one of the most talked about issues in American society. I mean, in the news, we see it in the form of like political debates or controversies. There's a lot of like fighting in Congress, fighting between, there was a lot of fighting between the executive branch and the legislative branch. Immigration was something that was often is related to law and lawsuits and the Supreme Court, as well as local courts as well. In our everyday lives, we see immigration everywhere, from the people that are working on campus to our own families, to the businesses that we frequent, the workplaces where we're at. And so, excuse me. So immigration is everywhere. It's in our schools, our communities, and our families. But the situation right now is that even though immigration is a popular topic for the most part, especially when you turn on the news or media, people are very much ill-informed about what immigration actually entails. They often oversimplify immigration as like this personal choice that someone makes, like this idea that someone just like is in some other country and decides to risk it all to move to a different country for a better life for them or for their kids. But As you'll see from our readings, immigration is much more complicated than that. Beyond the individual, there's all sorts of other factors that come into play, from policy to employment opportunities to the academic credentials that people have, to their social network. I'm Filipino American, and so for us, like, the colonial relations of the United States to the Philippines has played a role in why I'm even here in the first place, and my family. War, gender, sexuality. It's a super complicated phenomenon, and we're gonna work it out in over the course of the semester. So at the end of the day, my goal is that everybody that's in this class has a much more nuanced understanding of what immigration in the US entails. We'll be taking a non-traditional approach, which means that as opposed to assigning you like academic journal articles, I'm actually doing something a little bit different, and I'm assigning you personal essays that are written by journalists, activists, writers, in the hopes that they're anchoring each week to the story of a migrant or a child of immigrants or a grandchild of immigrants. It helps you start to unravel all the puzzles that are involved with the topic of immigration. So you're obviously enrolled, so that means you've taken your prerequisite classes. But just to belabor the course objectives a little bit, again, in your everyday lives, I'm sure immigration comes up, and I don't even want to know the spectrum of tone that you'll hear, but I'm sure it ranges from like super supportive to like super controversial. And so my hope is that you'll have some materials at your disposal to be able to have really intelligent, critical, fact driven conversations about immigration. So for me, what's going to matter is that you read about immigration. So, and I'm going to say this again and again, read the text, but just don't read like the words on the page. In fact, when you read a chapter for this class, I want you to read it several times, and I want you to read it closely. I think that like college has this way of making folks fall out of love for reading. I know that I meet a lot of students that really used to love to read, and then they came to college, and then boom, it just went away. But in anchoring our reading in personal essays, my hope is that you're able to really tease out individual stories, but also the contextual factors that matter, from like the immigration policies to the labor market opportunities to the social factors that come into play to other things like language and cultural familiarity. With the readings, I'm going to also ask you to write about immigration. And here again, I want you to exercise I want you to exercise your muscles in talking about immigration intelligently. So rather than just say things like, oh, such and such neighbor of mine says this and this about, like, Chinese Americans or Korean Americans or Armenians, like, I want you to actually like do some work and be like, over the course of the weekend, I've been thinking about like the social movements that have been spearheaded by Armenian Americans in Los Angeles, and how their political conflicts in the homeland in Armenia with the neighboring country has led to all of these social organizing at this camp in this city. So in other words, try to have like something smart to say when you're doing your discussions. And it could be about whatever. I'm not restricting what we're able to talk about. And my hope is that when you read these essays, you're going to be able to link up the topics that are a common thread along all the different stories that you read. So, for example, if immigration policies are working one way for one group in chapter 1, you'll notice that immigration policies may work differently for a different group in chapter 5. For this class, you're only going to need one book, and that is a book that's an edited volume, a collection of essays entitled "A Map is Only One Story." I encourage you to go to an independent bookstore to purchase this. It's also available on Amazon if you want to purchase it there. But the good news about this book is that the chapters, they're really, really meaty, and they're packed with a lot of information, but they're also just really great storytellers. So technical requirements for this class, it's asynchronous. So I know in most classes you may need Zoom, and at different points in the term, we may have opportunities to like have like a intermittent monthly discussions about the readings if that might come up once a month or once every other month. But for the most part, your assignments will be all on Blackboard. You'll submit things on Blackboard, and your grade will be based on that. So in the spirit of being super transparent about grades, you're going to be graded on your weekly response for each reading. So for each weekly response, you can get a max of 5 points. If you follow the assignment criteria, which is to write 1 or 2 full paragraphs about the reading, you'll get full 5 points. If you don't do that, you may get less than 5 points. But basically, you'll have to do this every week for each essay or assignment that you'll have on the module. In addition to that, I have very, very, very straightforward online quizzes that are just checks to see if you've done the reading. And those are to be done on Blackboard. And then from that, I'm going to come up with your final grade based on the points that you accumulate over the course of the class. Again, because this is an asynchronous class, there will be a date at the end of the semester when I will close opportunity to do your discussion board assignments and your online quizzes. So be mindful not to like totally leave it to the last minute. I know that in a virtual format, it can be hard to collaborate with friends because you just may not even see each other. But I just want to, invite folks to the extent that they can. If you have other colleagues in this class, form study groups or form discussion groups where you can talk about the readings or discuss questions you have at the readings with each other. That's totally okay. But when you do your discussion board entries as well as your quizzes, it's got to be individual. Late submissions, due to COVID, there are no deadlines again, but I highly encourage you to complete the responses as they're assigned each week. So, course policies, this is an asynchronous class. I know that the students at this campus are facing hardships that are just beyond people's imaginations. And it's just a really, really difficult time. Even if COVID ended tomorrow, even if everyone was vaccinated and we were all good to return tomorrow, I'm not. I'm not afraid to say that like we have gone through some major PTSD as a country, as a community, that it's going to take a whole lot of time to unravel. And so, yeah, I made this class asynchronous in the hopes that it's just much more digestible for you to do over the next 15 weeks. I have some notes on academic integrity and etiquette. But yeah, with respect to university resources and accessibility, please feel free to reach out to me if you have any concerns or questions regarding accessibility. There's no like lectures for this class, so there's no need for a note taker. And with the quizzes, I know sometimes like with the quizzes, there's one of the requests I often get is, can we have expanded time? I've just eliminated the time factor on quizzes, so there's no need to get extended time because it's as long as people need. Title IX, I just want to reiterate that as professors, we are mandatory reporters. So if anything with related to sexual violence or violence with related to sexual harassment, in any way it comes across my way, whether it's through an email or through the discussion board, I am obligated to report that to the Title IX office. From speaking as a feminist person with like a feminist lens of the world, this is an issue that is super, super problematic on college campuses. And so this is a zero tolerance environment for sexual harassment and violence. Just want to say that out loud. A word on COVID. So, you're still in school and I commend you because if I were in your shoes, I know how I couldn't even imagine. I mean, it's hard as a professor. I can't even imagine as a student. But remember that I see you as human beings first. I know that this is asynchronous. In an ideal world, we'd be able to like interact with each other. But for me, just remember, I see you as human beings first. I will always prioritize your physical and mental health above anything else. We're not in ordinary times. There's no way we are going back to that. And I'm not going to act like it, like everything's all hunky dory. And I fully know that there are students, have internet access issues, finances are just really difficult right now. Childcare, caregiving, motivation, mental health, the whole nine. And so, whatever way I can make this class doable, I'm here to do it. And of course, besides COVID, like 2020 has been the year where there's just been this national reckoning on systemic racism and white supremacy. And so, if I know that those events affect you as well, and so if anything comes up with respect to any of these political events that are happening, please know that I'm, always here to be of support. So for the course plan, I'm going to go into this in the next video, but for the most part, all you're going to have to do for this class is work through this book. You're going to read a chapter, write a couple paragraphs, take the quiz. And if you do that every week, basically, if you stay engaged with the topic of immigration, you're going to be fine for this class. So that's the overview of the syllabus. I just wanted to make sure that it's as crystal clear as possible. I don't want this to be a stressful environment in any way. I know that you probably have like 4 or 5 other classes that are stressing you out already. Consider this the place where you can just like learn about a topic that's super interesting. I give you the materials to do so. And if you can manage to just work through those materials, you're going to get an A. Okay. So please know that I'm here to support you. I'm here to have you learn without the additional pressure of like deadlines and like, you don't have to like have a camera on you when you're taking the quiz or nothing. But yeah, I just want you all to be okay. And I want you to learn about this super important topic. And with that, I'll end it there.